Welcome to Le Méridien Hotel in London's Piccadilly for the Sunday Times The Macallan Bridge Pairs Championship. This is one of the most prestigious events in the international bridge calendar, and only the world's best players are invited to take part. There are 16 pairs here who between them have won every major bridge championship in the world for the last 25 years.
Welcome to the Sunday Times of the Macallan Malt Whisky International Bridge Tournament. I'm going now to introduce you to all the players.
Among the favourites as the tournament begins are last year's winners, Gabriel Chagas and Marcelo Branco from Brazil. Branco is the quiet man of the partnership, while Chagas speaks 8 languages fluently and can't say pass in any of them. Tony Forrester and Andy Robson of England won this championship in 1990. Robson is one of the most even-tempered players in the competition, a useful quality since his partner is not famous for suffering in silence. Michael Rosenberg renews his partnership with the second most famous bridge player in the world, Veer Mahmood of Pakistan, London, New York, and anywhere else where they play bridge for a lot of money. The most famous bridge player in the world, Omar Sharif, is playing with Paul Chamler of France. Chamler is trying to cut down on his smoking. At last year's championship, his cigars were 2 feet long. The world champions, Iceland, are represented by Thor Jonsson and Gummi Arnarsson. When they won the world title last year, the entire population of Iceland watched the final stages on television. This giant scoreboard will gradually fill up, as over the next 3 days each pair plays 9 hands of bridge against every other pair, making 15 matches in all. Over 7,000 people will watch the championship unfold, and as the tournament begins, the spectators cluster in increasing numbers around the tables. There are some differences between the way bridge is played in tournaments like this and the game that you play at home. First of all, every one of the 8 tables plays the same 9 hands in each match. The hands are dealt in advance by computer and placed in plastic containers called boards. The players take their cards out of the boards at the start of play and will put the same hands back in the same place at the end. When it comes to bidding, the players don't call out their bids. Instead, each player has a set of cards in a box with all of the bids marked on them. To make a bid, the player takes a card out of his box and puts it on the table for everyone to see. This means that everyone can understand the bids, and you can't use your tone of voice to send illegal messages to your partner. As early as the second round, the title holders, Gabriel Chagas and Marcelo Branco from Brazil, are in deep trouble against the Icelandic world champions, Arnarsson and Jonsson. This deal is typical of the match. Gabriel Chagas sits north, Marcelo Branco sits south, and Thor Jonsson in the east seat becomes declarer in the standard contract of 3 no trumps. Branco makes the normal lead of the jack of spades from the south hand against 3 no trumps. West, dummy, follows with the 4, north, Chagas with the 6 of spades, and east, Jonsson wins the trick with the king. As every expert does, Jonsson considers the hand carefully from the outset. He can see that he has taken the first spade trick, and he has 3 sure tricks in diamonds. He can develop 4 tricks in hearts by driving out the king, which will bring his total to 8 tricks, and he can hope for his 9th trick with either the queen of spades or the king of clubs in dummy. Remember that, unlike us, he cannot see all 4 hands and does not know where the black suit aces are located. Jonsson plays the ace of hearts, on which south, west, and north follow with small cards. He plays another heart to the 8, 10, and king, and the critical point for the defence has been reached. While Janssen has been planning the play, Gabriel Chagas has also been deep in thought. He can tell from the bidding that de Clara will require a second spade trick to fulfill his contract, and he can see that if Branco, south, plays a club when he wins the ace of spades, Chagas, north, can take 3 club tricks immediately and defeat the contract. Chagas can see this, but his partner cannot, and one of the hallmarks of a truly great player is the ability to make life easy for partner, to help him to see the situation as clearly as you. If, thinks Gabriel, I play a spade to Marcello's ace at this point, he will not know that I desperately want a club switch. It might be, from his point of view, that a diamond is required instead. How can I help him to do the right thing? At the 4th trick, Gabriel Chagas plays not a spade, but the 9 of diamonds. Among expert players, the lead of a high spot card, an 8 or a 9, say, is used to deny possession of strength in the suit led, and in any case, Chagas would not lead from strength around to the king in dummy. So, by playing a high diamond, Chagas is in effect telling Branco that there is no future in the diamond suit, and leaving south with no option but to return a club when he gains the lead in spades. Janssen wins the 9 of diamonds with the ace as south and west follow suit. He knows only too well why Chagas has defended this way, and it is without much hope that he advances the 7 of spades from his hand at the 5th trick. Surely Branco will play the ace and return a club, thinks Janssen, and surely I will go down, but what else is there to try? But to the amazement of the spectators and the absolute horror of Chagas, Branco does not take his ace of spades. He plays low, and Janssen wins the trick with dummy's queen. He now has a total of 2 spade tricks, 4 hearts, and 3 diamonds to make his contract of 3 no trumps. And Chagas is left wondering why his beautiful defense has been so desecrated by a man who is supposed to be on his side. In another part of the forest, the second most famous bridge player in Pakistan, Munir Ataullah, known to the bridge world as Moonbeam, is playing with Robert Sheehan against the French Olympic champions Alain Levy and Hervé Muriel. Once again east, Alain Levy is de Clara in 3 no trumps, and the play follows the same course as at Chagas's table for the first few tricks. The jack of spades is led and won by East's king. East plays the ace of hearts, to which all follow, and the second heart. This time Moonbeam introduces a variation. He allows dummy's queen of hearts to hold the trick, playing the 5 from his hand. Levy persists with the jack of hearts from the west hand, and this time Munir takes his king as East discards a club and South does likewise. Munir and Sheehan are Oxford graduates, so Munir does not follow Chagas's defense of returning a diamond to make life easy for Sheehan. Oxford men are supposed to be able to solve difficult problems. Munir plays his second spade, East follows low, Sheehan takes his ace, and dummy plays low. De Clara is poised to take 9 tricks as soon as he obtains the lead, and Sheehan knows it, so the defense must take 3 fast tricks in one of the minor suits if the contract is to be defeated. Robert Sheehan is a thoughtful player with a highly logical mind. He reasons like this. If I play a club, I need Munir to have the ace, queen, and jack to defeat the contract. If I play the jack of diamonds, though, I only need him to have the ace, queen, and 10 of diamonds. One should, in general, play partner for as little as possible, especially Moonbeam, who always has as little as possible, so I will switch to the jack of diamonds. Alain Levy gratefully scoops in his 3 diamond tricks, 4 hearts and 2 spades to make the contract, and there is the added bonus that he has been doubled by Munir for the excellent reason that it was his turn, so this is a very costly misguess by Robert Sheehan. Was there anything that Munir could have done to help his partner? At another table, the youngest pair in the tournament are up against the youngest player. Henry Lifekins and Barry Westra of the Netherlands are north-south against Tony Forrester and Andy Robson of Great Britain as east-west. Once again, East becomes declarer in 3-no trumps, and the play follows the familiar path for the first few tricks. South, Lifekins leads the Jack of Spades, which runs around to East Robson's King. Andy plays the Ace of Hearts, all following, and a second heart to the Queen in dummy. North, Westra follows Munir's defence of permitting the Queen of Hearts to hold, and when Robson continues with the Jack of Hearts from dummy, Barry Westra lets this card win the trick also. East and South discard clubs, and Robson persists with a fourth heart from the West hand. This time Westra is forced to win his king. He plays a spade to Lifekins' ace, and seemingly without thought, the young Dutchman returns a club for Westra to cash 3 tricks in that suit and defeat the contract. What was it that enabled Lifekins to do the right thing so easily? Some bridge players among you at home may be familiar with what are called suit preference signals. The play of a high card is used to show a preference for the higher ranking suit. The play of a low card asks for the lower suit. As Westra followed with small cards to the first 3 rounds of hearts, Lifekins watched them closely. He saw that Westra played the 2 of hearts on the first round, then the 5, and then the 9. In other words, that Westra was deliberately selecting his lowest heart whenever he had a choice. To Henry Lifekins, the message was clear. Westra was playing low cards, so he was interested in the lower-ranking suit, clubs. If Barry Westra had held instead the ace, queen, and 10 of diamonds, as Sheehan had earlier guessed that Munir held, then Westra would have played the 9 of hearts the first time, then the 5, and finally the 2, showing interest in the higher suit, diamonds. A delicate and subtle inference, but these are the best players in the world, and they do this sort of thing almost as a matter of routine. At a fourth table, the greatest bridge player ever to appear in Dr. Zhivago, Omar Sharif, is north. Paul Schemler is south, and east-west are Bob Hammond and Bobby Wolf of the United States, one of the game's very best pairs for a very long time. You could easily pick out Hammond and Wolf even in a crowded bridge room. Bob Hammond is 6 feet 4 and 230 pounds, and he's the small one. As usual, the contract is 3-no trumps to be played by Bobby Wolf as East. Once again, South, Paul Schemler leads the Jack of Spades around to declare as King. And once again, East tackles the heart suit. The ace holds the first round, and Wolf plays a second heart to the 8, Queen, and King. Sharif returns a spade to Schemler's ace, and the French champion switches immediately to a club, enabling Sharif to cash 3 tricks in that suit and defeat the contract. This is a fairly simple deal, but it has already given us an insight into the minds of these top-class partnerships. But what are the requirements for a successful partnership?
What makes one particular pair play better than if you put another 2 together is that little bit of chemistry, that little bit of understanding with each other that you can't always tell in advance that's going to happen.
Whenever I play with Paul. I like that he, first of all, is a very great player, but very simple player. I mean, very logical and very simple, very uncomplicated.
I like very much playing with Omar. First of all, he's the best bridge player among the actors I know, but also he's one of the best bridge players I know in general.
We're friends
and
also,
you are also friends. We discuss.
We bridge together.
While eating.
We're good eating partners.
Mostly you have to like your partner. You don't have to compete with him. And we know exactly where we stand. So whatever I tell him or he tells me, I know that he's not trying to say anything specifically bad to me, nor to humiliate me, as you might eventually take. I know that he's either mad or he's trying to convey something to me.
Official scorers are busy at each table, taking down the result of each deal as it is played. But the overall match results aren't known until all 8 tables have finished playing and their scores have been compared. 60 points are at stake in each match, so dramatic swings between matches are always possible. For Paul Shamler, bridge may be an easy game, but waiting for the results is always difficult. Once the match is over, it is too late to change what you have done. All you can do is explain it as loudly as you can, in the hope that somebody else will sympathize. The early leaders in the tournament are the Icelandic world champions, who start with 3 massive wins. Boris Shapiro, the Sunday Times bridge correspondent and former world champion, shows that age has not diminished his appetite for the game or his skill. In the first round, he and his partner, Irving Gordon, defeat the French Olympic champions Alain Levy and Hervé Mouillel. In the second round, Shapiro and Gordon beat Jeff Meckstroth and Eric Rodwell, the most feared partnership in the world today. The only women's pair in the field, Nicola Smith and Sally Horton of England, have started the tournament well. They are up against their compatriots Forrester and Robson in the 4th round. In this kind of competition, matches between players from the same country are especially keenly fought, and this one is no exception. A crucial deal is this one. Tony Forrester is north, Andy Robson south, Nicola Smith is west, and Sally Horton east. When Tony Forrester opens the bidding with 1 spade as north, Andy Robson, with his tremendous south hand, immediately thinks of a slam contract. East passes, and Robson starts slowly with a response of 2 clubs. West, Nicola Smith intervenes with 2 hearts. Many players would now pass gratefully on the north hand, taking the opportunity to show that they had opened a minimum hand. But Tony Forrester is a firm believer in bidding when it is his turn, and he supports his partner's club suit at the 3 level. This is great news for Robson. His side has found a fit early in the auction, and when East passes, Andy shows his second suit with a bid of 3 diamonds. West passes, Forrester bids 3 spades to emphasize his high cards there, and East passes. Andy Robson now makes a Q bid of 4 hearts, simply showing the ace of that suit. West passes, and Tony Forrester bids 5 clubs. Robson is not settling for a game with his fine hand, though, and after East's pass, he continues to 6 clubs. This ends the bidding, an eventful auction, but at least all the bids in it could be readily understood by the average player or spectator at this tournament. A lot of players use conventional forms of bidding, in which you bid clubs to show hearts or diamonds to show that you would like a gin and tonic, but Tony and Andy have been playing a very natural system for some time now, and it seems to suit them.
We started off very technically, trying, I suppose, to reach the sort of 7th heaven of playing bridge perfectly, and got more and more and more technical and tried to get better and better and better and try and sort of hit every pinhead perfectly accurately. And bridge, I don't think really is like that. I think it's very much more that there's large elements of the game where precision just isn't possible, and therefore we decided that instead of following this particular route that was maybe reaching a point where the system was almost dominating us rather than we were dominating the system, that we free ourselves from the shackles and we'd say, okay, look, you know, we'll play a more freewheeling style, we'll give up the precision, we'll put more emphasis on putting the opponents under some pressure, make it tougher for them, and we'll see how we go. We'll make more mistakes, but so will I.
I think that's right. I mean, we want to be more creative, and this new natural system enables us to do a lot more what we feel like. I think we felt before that we were assuming the roles of robots, and now very much there's a lot of room for flair, which means that if we're playing well, we do well. And if we're not playing well, then we don't do well, because there's much more room for us to make mistakes.
Natural bidding has carried Andy Robson to a contract of 6 clubs. West, Nicholas Smith, leads the King of Hearts, and Robson considers his options. He has no losers in spades, and he can avoid the loss of a heart by discarding one from his hand on the ace of spades in the dummy. He must, therefore, avoid the loss of 2 tricks in the minor suits. There are 2 possible ways in which this might be achieved, one simple and one complicated. Try pausing the video at this point while you make up your mind at home how you would play the hand before we look at Andy Robson's campaign. Let's see how your line of play would have worked out compared with Andy Robson's. He won the opening lead of the King of Hearts with the ace in the south hand, and played a small diamond to the 5, king, and 6. He cashed the ace of spades in dummy, discarding his losing heart from the south hand. Robson then led the 10 of clubs from dummy, and when East played low, so did Robson as south. West discarded a heart on this trick, and Robson was home. He led the 8 of clubs from dummy, East played low, and so did south as West discarded again. The 3 of clubs was led to the 7 and 9, West throwing yet another heart, and Andy drew East's last trump, the king, by playing the ace from his hand. Having lost no club trick, Andy could afford the eventual loss of a diamond to West's jack, so the contract was safely made. What did his opponents think about that?
He took a very long time to play it, and I mean, I don't know the exact percentages, but he had a huge percentage the way he played it. And I think he took the extra chance of the finesse, and I think if we analysed it very, very closely, he took the right line.
At another table, the Icelandic pair, who are leading the tournament at this stage, play the North-South cards against Jeff Mextroth and Eric Rodwell, 2 bridge professionals from the United States who would be first or close to first on everybody's list of the world's top pairs. Gudmundur Arnarsson, the South, known to all as Gummi, finds himself in the same contract as Robson, 6 clubs. The King of Hearts is led, North and East follow suit, and South wins with the ace. After much thought, Gummi lays down the ace of clubs. He is not simply hoping to catch somebody with the singleton king. That is much less likely than the finesse, and Arnarsson knows it. What he is trying to guard against is a distribution of cards like this one. If this is the situation, then the line of play followed by Andy Robson would fail. A diamond is played to the king in dummy. The ace of spades is cashed for a heart discard. And the 10 of clubs is led. But this time, West wins the club trick with the king and leads a second round of diamonds. East ruffs, and the slam is defeated. By laying down the ace of clubs before crossing to dummy in diamonds for a heart discard on the ace of spades, Gummi Arnarsson hopes to guard against the threat of a diamond ruff by East. But alas for Arnarsson, the true distribution is, as we have seen, like this. After laying down the ace of clubs at the second trick, he cannot avoid the loss of a club to East's king and an eventual diamond to West's jack, so the slam fails by 1 trick, a huge score for his opponents.
In order for the ace of clubs to be superior, Jeff's hand has to have singleton or doubleton king of clubs, 4 diamonds exactly, 6 hearts, because he overcalled 2 hearts, and a singleton spade, and I have 7 spades. So that's not very likely. I think it's more likely that if Jeff has 4 diamonds, that I have the club king. And I think if the player had reflected on the distribution he needed for his line of play to succeed, he would have gone the other way and taken the trump finesse.
Of the 6 declarers who faced the problem in 6 clubs, 3 are defeated by following Arnarsson's line, and 3 are successful by following Andy Robson's. Despite this setback, though, the Icemen fight back to beat Mextrot and Rodwell narrowly, and to be at the top of the standings after 4 rounds of the 15. The leaderboard looks like this. In 3rd place are Robert Sheehan and Munir Ataullah. Perhaps if they'd gone to Cambridge instead, they'd be leading by now. In 2nd place are Irving Jordan and Boris Shapiro of the Sunday Times, but the early leaders are the world champions from Iceland, Thor Jonsson and Gumi Arnarsson.
I know.
Last year, Boris Shapiro decided that he was too old for the stresses of top-class bridge at 82. But the strain of watching the tournament proved far more excruciating than the strain of playing, so he is back again at 83 to show these youngsters how the game should be played.
I know you've opened the bidding. I didn't have much there. I had a singleton and 3 red cards.
I was terribly disappointed. Huh? I don't understand that.
You were represented that I didn't have an ace.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't deal with them.
He is showing them at the moment, but the field are close behind and there is a long way to go. Perhaps the least well-known pair in this illustrious field are Bobby Levin and Gaylor Castle of the United States. Levin is the youngest player ever to win a world championship, which he did in 1980, but Castle is not widely known outside the USA. Still, Levin and Castle are in 5th place after 4 rounds, and on the deal we are about to see from the 5th round, they start to challenge strongly for the top places. Gaylor Castle is south and Bobby Levin is north. Their opponents are Tim Cope and Henry Mansell from South Africa, a country which has recently been readmitted to the world stage in bridge as in other sports. We have seen what natural bidding can do for Forrester and Robson, but here is an example of what unnatural bidding can sometimes achieve. North, Bobby Levin opens the bidding with 1 club. Like most Americans, he and Castle play the strong no trump, so he cannot open with that call. South, Castle responds with 2 hearts to show a hand that wants to force the game. His intention will be to support clubs strongly on the next round. North, Bobby Levin raises naturally to 3 hearts, and Castle, as South, follows his plan by bidding 4 clubs. So far the auction has been very natural, and so far no one has made a mistake. Levin, as North, continues the good work with a bid of 4 diamonds. This is a Q bid showing the ace of the suit. South, Castle bids 4 no trumps, which you and I play as asking partner for aces. But these top players are far more sophisticated than that. These days, 4 no trumps asks not only about aces, but about the king and queen of the trump suit in addition. At any rate, Levin bids a simple 5 diamonds on the north cards to show 1 ace, just as any ordinary mortal might do. Castle, as South, now uses a special bid of 5 spades to ask his partner, do you hold the queen of trumps? A simple question. Unfortunately, there is no simple answer, for Levin thinks that hearts are trumps, while Castle thinks that clubs are trumps. Levin, as North, bids 6 hearts, which, if hearts were trumps, announces that he does not hold the queen. To Castle, the message is different because clubs are trumps. So by bidding 6 hearts, Bobby Levin is announcing that he has not only the queen of clubs, but the queen of hearts also. Got it? Good. Armed with the information that his side has the queen of just about everything, Castle closes proceedings with a bid of 7 clubs. At least that is what he attempts to do, but since Levin now realizes that he has not known what trumps are during the entire auction, it is only fitting that the hand be played in no trumps, and he bids the grand slam in that denomination. Henry Mansell, as West, is relieved to see that the auction has finally come to an end, and he leads the 9 of diamonds. When Levin spreads his dummy, Castle realizes that he will need a fair amount of luck as well as skill to make his grand slam. He wins the diamond lead with the ace in the north hand, and east and south follow suit. Castle plays a heart from dummy to the 5, king, and 2, a safety play lest either defender should have the singleton queen. He plays a club from his hand to dummy's queen, which wins the trick, and leads the 6 of hearts to East's 7. Closing his eyes, Castle plays the 10 of hearts, and when he opens them again, this card has held the trick. With 12 winners available now, Castle must find another for his crucial 13th trick, and he begins by cashing his winners in the club suit. When a declarer is cashing a long suit, the defenders must be careful to discard safely, since a false step when defending a Grand Slam contract will be very expensive. As you can see, West must hang on to his 3 spades, but for the moment he can safely discard diamonds on the clubs. East must keep both his hearts, and he throws away a spade and a diamond. This leaves the position like this. Gaylord Castle now plays the ace of hearts from the south hand. If the suit divides, he is home, but this chance does not work. However, West is in trouble. Forced to keep both his diamonds to prevent dummy's 7 from winning a trick, he must discard a spade. Dummy follows with the jack of hearts and East with the 8. Now Gaylord Castle plays a spade to the 8, king and 7, and leads the king of diamonds from dummy. East must keep the queen of hearts to prevent declarer's 3 of hearts from taking the last trick, so East in turn must discard a spade. Castle throws the 3 of hearts from his hand, and West follows with the 10 of diamonds. Now, however, both East and West are reduced to 1 spade each, and Gaylord Castle knows it. He plays a spade to his ace, and when West's queen of spades falls, he claims the 13th trick with the jack. 7 no trumps bid and made. Sorry about the bidding, partner. I thought hearts were trumps, explains Levin. I forgive you, says Castle magnanimously, but don't do it again. As the tournament approaches the halfway stage, the Icelandic pair are still holding on to their lead. Forrester and Robson of Britain have staged a major recovery. Second from bottom after 3 rounds, they are second from top now, and Levin and Castle have moved into 3rd place. Omar Sharif and Paul Schemler are in the middle of the field, as are the ladies Nicola Smith and Sally Horton. Zia, to everyone's surprise, is last, but he still seems to be enjoying himself. The 7th round of the tournament is one of wild deals and huge swings. There will be a number of battered egos after this round. This is the deal which sets everybody talking. The best players in the world can come seriously unstuck like the rest of us when the distribution of a deal is as wild as this. East has 12 cards in the major suits, North has 12 cards in the minors, West has a very strong hand, and South is likely to join in the bidding as well. Michael Rosenberg and Zia Mahmood are East and West against a Swedish pair, Anders Marat and Per-Olof Sunderlin, known universally as P.O. The Swedes play a bidding system with the unlikely name of the Carrot Club, because it was invented by Anders Marat, whose name is apparently very close to the Swedish word for a carrot. Moreover, Anders' hair used to be red, but that was before he started playing with P.O. It has since gone white with the strain of wondering whether his partner is ever going to play a card. Michael Rosenberg is unable to resist the lure of a preempt on the East cards, and he opens with a bid of 3 spades. Anders Marat as South makes a conventional carrot bid of 4 clubs, showing a hand with short spades and interest in the other suits, especially hearts. Zia Mahmood as West wonders what on earth is happening. Here he sits with a tremendous hand, and the bidding is at the 4 level before he has had a chance to speak. He solves the problem in straightforward fashion, bidding 4 no trumps to ask for aces. But P.O. Sunderlin as North is not going to let Rosenberg answer that question if he can help it. He jumps to 6 clubs, hoping to cause panic and confusion in the enemy ranks. Zia might be excused for falling off his chair at this point, since he has Ace-King 9-7-4 of a suit in which his opponents have just voluntarily bid a slam, and he holds another Ace-King in addition. Just as Zia is anticipating the greatest massacre since Glen Coe, he sees to his horror that Rosenberg has not yet passed. What is more, he does not pass, emerging eventually with a bid of 6 spades. Marat doubles this quickly before some lunatic bids 7 clubs, and Zia can see one thing that will compensate him for not being able to defend 6 clubs doubled. Only a redoubled slam will do. He redoubles, everyone passes, and finally Rosenberg can play the hand. Marat leaves the king of diamonds, which holds the first trick. P.O. in the north seat plays the 8. Remember suit preference signals? And as Marat does, and he plays the higher ranking of the 2 side suits next, a heart for north to rough. That is 1 down already, and south still has the ace of trumps to come, so Rosenberg is down 2 tricks redoubled for a penalty of, well, some penalties just do not bear thinking about.
On this hand, my partner opened 3 spades, which we play is a very light opening preempt. And I was kind of like extremely excited and happy when I picked up my hand, because I had a hand that at most could have 2 losers and was very likely to have a slam on. My partner needed 1 card, the ace of spades, which is very likely on his bid, to make a slam. I was more surprised when the guy on my right bid 4 clubs, which was a conventional bid, which was in the Swedish system a takeout bid, asking his partner to bid a suit, but emphasizing that he had reasonable clubs and not very good diamonds. I think that was the interpretation. I kind of didn't want to hang around too much. I just felt that I'll find out how many aces my partner has, and bid is not a slam. So I bid 4-no trump, which is the traditional Blackwood way. And then the closest thing to ecstasy on a bridge table occurred when the guy on my left leapt to 6 clubs, and I was looking at ace, king, 9, 5th. I mean, it's something like, you know, finding 5 Playboy bunnies in your room, you know, after a hard day at office. You know, there's nothing much better for it. And just as I was about to devour him, suddenly I hear Michael, my old faithful friend from Scotland, chirp up 6 spades, you know, which is like the worst thing that God had ever invented. And I mean, if I could have a gun, I think I would at least shoot him in 3 or 4 several places at the same time at that moment. And the guy on my right doubled, and more out of anger and frustration than much more than, I didn't think I would go down more than 1. I redoubled. Maybe they'll bid 7 clubs and I can enjoy myself again. But rather had a sad ending, I must say. So as far as I was concerned, it was a moment of great joy, ended by a moment of extreme frustration. But I probably would have been the same in his place as well.
It was a breach of discipline, and when I saw my partner's hand, I felt ill. I don't really blame him for redoubling. I'd done the same in his place, I think, just out of frustration and hope that they would run or something.
The same deal has created problems for the British partnership and boosted the American challenge. Tony Forrester and Andy Robson play this deal sitting north-south against Bobby Levin and Gaylord Castle of the United States. The contract is a more modest 5 spades by East Gaylord Castle. Andy Robson does not lead a heart from the south hand. He chooses the king of diamonds instead. Tony Forrester, like Pierre Sunderlin, plays the 8 of diamonds to request a heart switch, which would beat the contract by 1 trick. But to Forrester's disappointment, Robson continues diamonds, and Castle makes his contract.
Not at all. I mean, I'm only trying to do what's right for the partnership on our hand.
At the halfway stage of the tournament, these are the leading scores. The evergreen Boris Shapiro is still there in 3rd place. Levin and Castle are treading close on the heels of the leaders, but Jonsson and Arnason of Iceland are still in front. Close behind these 3 are Max Frost and Rodwell of the United States, and despite their heavy defeat by Levin and Castle, Forrester and Robson are still 5th. Zia isn't last anymore, but he isn't far away, and Nicola and Sally are doing reasonably well in the middle of the field. Muniata Ulla strolls thoughtfully back to his table as the spectators take their seats. In this country, tournament bridge is still very much an amateur game. The situation is different in the United States, where the top players play bridge professionally and spend many years perfecting their technique.
So I started playing in my teens, and I turned professional in 1964. So I've been doing it for a living now for almost 30 years.
We make our living playing bridge.
It's not gambling or anything like that. What we do is work with people. People pay us to give them lessons and play bridge with them at various tournaments.
Gambling is not a part of tournament bridge, though some of these players sometimes play rubber bridge for very high stakes. There is still an element of chance involved in the tournament game, and the 8th round produces a hand that throws even the professionals into disarray. This is a very difficult hand for North-South to bid to the correct contract, which is 7-no trumps. Levin and Castle sit east and west against Boris Shapiro and Irving Gordon, who bid the North-South cards like this. 2 diamonds is a conventional opening by Irving Gordon on the South cards, simply showing a good hand. 2 hearts from Shapiro as North is a conventional response showing a bad hand. Now Irving and Boris start to bid suits that they actually hold. Irving Gordon, South, bids 3 clubs. Boris Shapiro as North bids 3 diamonds. Irving bids 3 hearts, and Boris Shapiro supports them. As the man said when he jumped out of a 100-story building and went past the 20th floor window, so far so good. Now Irving Gordon as South makes a Q-bid of 4 spades to show the ace, and Boris Shapiro as North responds by bidding 5 diamonds to show high cards in that suit. Quite why Irving Gordon now jumps to 7 hearts on the South hand is not at all clear, but it brings Bobby Levin to life with the West cards. He doubles 7 hearts, and an awful lot of points now hang on Shapiro and Gordon's decision. If they both pass, Levin and Castle will score 500 points and take an almost unassailable lead in the tournament. But if either North or South bid 7-no trumps, then Irving and Boris will score 2,220 points, a blow which could put a severe dent in the Americans' challenge. Each gives the matter a lot of thought, but finally they both pass. 7 hearts doubled goes 2 tricks down, and it looks all over by the handshakes for Levin and Castle. Reunited at this tournament are Pietro Forquet and Giorgio Belladonna of Italy, part of the legendary Blue Team, which won every championship in sight in the 1960s and 1970s. On this deal, the past champions sit North and South against the present world title holders from Iceland. The bidding does not reach nearly the exalted levels to which Shapiro and Gordon aspired. East passes and South, Pietro Forquet, opens with 1 club. That may look a natural thing to do, but in the Italian system the bid simply shows a strong hand and says nothing about the club suit. West passes, and Belladonna responds with 1 diamond as North, which again looks natural, but which is in fact a conventional negative bid, simply showing fewer than 8 points. Now East, Thor Jonsson comes to life with a bid of 1 spade. His objective is not so much to play the hand, but to deprive his great opponents of room to use their sophisticated system to the full. Pietro Forquet doubles for takeout to show his great strength. A bid of 2 clubs would not be forcing, and West, Gummi Arnason, jumps to 3 spades. Again, he does not really want his side to play the contract. He just wants to force his opponents to exchange information at a high level rather than a low one. Giorgio Belladonna doubles to show that he has some values in the context of his original negative bid, and East finally passes. Now poor Forquet is in a dilemma. He knows that Belladonna has some bits and pieces, but he has no idea whether they will be any use. Finally, Pietro settles for 3-no trumps, which ends the auction. A few moments later, he has won the opening lead and claimed all 13 tricks, and the Icelanders are pleased with themselves. Has not their obstructive bidding kept their famous opponents from bidding an easy slam?
We didn't play well, but we were not in a good luck, let's say.
Yeah, this is right. The last
because in this kind of tournament, you need some luck.
At another table, the French Olympic champions Alain Levy and Hervé Mouillel are making progress towards the top places, while Zia and Michael Rosenberg are trying hard to make progress away from the bottom spot. When this deal reaches their table, the French East-West pair go to greater lengths even than the Icelanders to make life as uncomfortable as possible for the Pakistani superstar. East, Alain Levy, opens the bidding with a weak 2 spades. Well, his hand is weak and he has more spades than anything else, I suppose. Zia doubles with his mighty south hand, a take-out double, asking Rosenberg to bid and hoping that Zia will be able to show his great strength later on. But Muriel is having none of that. He jumps straight to 4 spades. North and East both pass, and Zia, as usual, opts for the swashbuckling action with a bid of 6 clubs. Everyone is too stunned to bid over this, even if they wanted to. And Hervé Muriel leads a spade to the first trick. Zia wins with the ace of spades, and contemplates a horrible problem. He cannot draw trumps and then cash dummy's diamonds, since once the clubs have gone from dummy, there will be no entry to the diamond suit. So he will have to release the ace of diamonds and then decide whether to play 1 round of trumps or 2 rounds before cashing as many of dummy's diamonds as possible. He decides to play for one opponent to have 3 clubs and 3 diamonds. So he leads a club to the 10 in dummy and plays the king of diamonds, discarding a spade. The queen of diamonds is played next, and Zia discards a heart from his hand. Next comes the jack of diamonds, on which South throws another heart. Zia knows that an opponent will trump this trick, but he is hoping that he will be able to win the next trick and cross to dummy with the jack of clubs, drawing all the outstanding trumps and enabling the last diamond to be cashed for a final heart discard. It is not to be. West trumps the diamond and plays a spade, which Zia trumps in his hand. He plays a club, hopefully, to dummy's jack of clubs, but West discards on this trick, so the last diamond cannot be cashed. Zia has one last chance. He knows that it is a forlorn one, for there is room in East's hand for only 1 heart, and it is not likely to be the king. Still, while there is life, there is hope, so Zia leads the last diamond from the dummy. Perhaps East will be asleep and forget to trump it. No, Alain Levy did not win the Olympic gold medal by falling asleep while defending slams, and Zia is forced to overruff the diamond. He lays down the ace of hearts, calling for East to drop the king, but his prayers are in vain and his slam is 1 down. The contract is 6 clubs at most of the other tables, and no declarer succeeds. What with Boris and Irving going 2 down doubled in 7 hearts, a plus score on the north-south cards proves to be a very good result for the few pairs that get one. So, despite the apparent success of their tactics, the Icelanders are going to lose heavily on this deal when they might have expected a large profit. No matter how hard you try, you can never entirely eliminate the element of chance from tournament bridge.
You need a lot of luck. Instead of playing very well, you need the opposition to do a few silly things, as everyone does, of course. So that the pair that will win the event is the pair who makes A, the fewest mistakes, and B, gets the most luck.
And you have no luck, and then you make a few mistakes. It gets worse and worse. Also, you need a little luck with bridge.
I think there's a sort of a division that the gods do. And, you cannot just win everything you play. It's not fair.
Bridge is no different from any other sport. The winners play well and the losers are unlucky. After 10 of the 15 rounds, Bobby Levin and Gaylor Castle are way out in front. The Olympic gold medalists, Alain Levy and Hervé Muriel, are second, but chasing them hard are the Olympic silver medalists from the USA, Jeff Maxtroth and Eric Rodwell. In the 11th round, the second and third place pairs meet at the table, and this is a decisive deal. As you would expect in an expert field, the contract is 6 clubs by East at nearly every table. Make up your minds at home how you would play the hand on the lead of the Queen of Hearts from South. The problem is that you cannot immediately play trumps, for a defender will win the ace and cash a heart, and you will be down before you have even started. So you must throw a heart away from either your hand or dummy before playing on trumps. If you cash the ace of diamonds and successfully finesse the jack of diamonds, then you will be able to throw a heart on dummy's king of diamonds before playing a club. Alternatively, if you can cash 3 rounds of spades without a defender roughing with a small trump, then you will be able to dispose of dummy's heart before playing clubs. Last chance to place your bets. In fact, it is better to play on the spade suit, and all the declarers confronted with the problem did exactly that. They were rewarded when the full deal looked like this. As you can see, declarer can play the ace of spades, the king of spades, and the queen of spades, discarding dummy's heart. Only then is the ace of clubs knocked out and the contract is made. Taking the diamond finesse instead would fail, but none of the top experts fell into that trap. Livy and Muyel are east-west on this deal against Jeff Maxtroth and Eric Rodwell as north-south. The bidding is not exactly according to Hoyle. South and west both pass, and Maxtroth as north, knowing that he needs to create an unusual position to give his side a chance to overtake the French pair, opens the bidding with 1-no trump. This ostensibly strong bid, showing 15 to 17 points and a balanced hand, throws a large spanner into the works as far as the French are concerned. Hervé Muyel as east cannot even double the outrageous 1-no trump for penalties, because that is not part of his system. All he can do is to overcall with 2 diamonds, conventionally showing spades and a minor suit. Eric Rodwell as south, suspecting nothing, innocently competes with a bid of 2 hearts, and Alain Levy passes as west. Strangely, Jeff Maxtroth does not feel compelled to bid again on the north hand. He is content to see what mischief his psychic opening will cause. Hervé Muyel as east doubles at his second turn to show great strength. But after Rodwell passes, there is little that Alain Levy as west can do but bid his long club suit. From Muyel's point of view, if Maxtroth really does have 15 to 17 points, and Rodwell has enough for his bid of 2 hearts, that leaves nothing for west. So although deeply suspicious, Muyel eventually passes on the east hand. Alain Levy plays his undignified part-score contract of 3 clubs with as much care as if he were in a slam, and he makes 12 tricks, but loses considerable ground to his opponents, who move into second place as a result of this match. With 3 rounds to go in the championship, Bobby Levin and Gaylord Castle of the USA continue to carry all before them. Alain Levy and Hervé Muyel have beaten the British ladies heavily to climb back into second place, and sadly to push Sally and Nicholas so far down the field that Zia Mahmood begins to believe that he might not finish last after all. Omar Sharif and Paul Shemla are putting in a great run to be 4th at this stage, but nobody really looks like catching the leaders inside the last few furlongs. In the 13th round, Maxtroth and Rodwell move back into second place by means of a good win against Robert Sheehan and Munir Ataullah. This deal shows both pairs at their best, with Eric Rodwell emerging triumphant. After Munir Ataullah has shown a weakish hand with 6 spades as north, Eric Rodwell has to play in 3-no trumps from the east seat. Robert Sheehan leads the 8 of spades from the south hand, and Munir makes the fine play of a low spade as north. The idea is to knock out Rodwell's ace and jack of spades, while south still has a spade to lead to his partner, and the first step is to force Rodwell to take the jack of spades on the first round. Eric Rodwell now leads the jack of diamonds from the east hand, his idea being to eliminate North's high cards in diamonds while he still has control of the spade suit. But Robert Sheehan is wide awake and steps up with the ace of diamonds. Sheehan returns a second spade, and Rodwell allows Mounir's nine of spades to hold this trick. Mounir persists with spades, and Eric Rodwell wins with the ace of spades in order to lead a second diamond. He is hoping that South, who has no more spades, will produce the queen of diamonds, which will be allowed to hold, giving Rodwell 3 diamond tricks and 2 in each of the other suits for his game contract. But when Sheehan follows with the 2 of diamonds, Rodwell has to win the trick with dummy's king of diamonds. The best chance is still that Sheehan holds the outstanding diamond. But if Rodwell plays for this chance by leading a diamond now, Mounir will win and cash a lot of spades to beat the contract. The hallmark of the champion is to give himself not just the best chance, but every chance, however slight. And before leading a diamond, Eric Rodwell cashes the ace of hearts, collecting only small cards, and then the king of hearts, which collects a very large card indeed, the queen. Now de Clara has 4 heart tricks, 2 spades, 2 clubs, and 1 diamond for 9 winners, a fine example of Rodwell's excellent card management.
There's a lot you can learn about how to manage the cards and how to manage the bidding of bridge. And then a lot of the rest of it is partnership, like being able to be on the same wavelength as your partner, because you only have a very limited vocabulary with which you can communicate the bids you make and the plays you make. And that's what I've worked on, is to try and get a very good methods for us. And then finally, any kind of competitive endeavor is a matter of being ready to play when you sit down. And it's not as easy as you might imagine, because you're making hundreds of decisions a session.
As the tournament moves into the final round, these are the scores at the top. The leaders have been there since the halfway point.
Take your places for the final match, please. Thank you.
Bobby Levin and Gaylor Castle have only to stay alive in order to collect the trophy, but there is still a battle for second place, and of course the question of who will come last. Zia is rumored to have taken huge bets that it will not be him, and he is a worried man at the moment. If they maintain their current form, then last year's winners, Chagas and Branco, have a good chance of being last. But in the event, they manage to avoid the ultimate indignity by beating Michael Rosenberg and Zia heavily. Zia is an even more worried man now. But he and Michael regain their composure as they squeak in ahead of the women, who are sadly relegated to the bottom spot.
It's down to the line finish.
The solid professionalism of Jeff Maxtroth and Eric Rodwell carries them into a convincing second place. The Olympic champions, Levy and Muriel, are third. Omar Sharif and Paul Schemler finish a highly respectable sixth.
And now I will call Bobby Levin and Gaylor Castle from the United States for the score.
They were surprise winners this time around, but the world knows who they are now, and Bobby Levin and Gaylor Castle will be back as defending champions next year.